And so the reading is from the book, The Course in Miracles Experiment by Pam Grout. And this is an excerpt from the prologue, from the introduction. And this is Pam Grout speaking about her journey to becoming a practicer of the Course in Miracles. Before I became a serious student of A Course in Miracles, I was the last person anyone would have nominated to play a part in the dude, that's what she calls God, the dude's little project here on earth. At the time, my boyfriend, the last in a long series of boyfriends, had kicked me out of the house we shared in rural Connecticut. To top it off, I was 7 months pregnant, was obviously unmarried, and had nary a clue where to go. Even worse, it was mid-July, and the air conditioner in the little blue Toyota, in which I'd stuffed most of my earthly possessions, was on the fritz. Temperatures averaged 100 degrees as I set out across the country, big as a house, pointed in the general direction of Breckenridge, Colorado. Clearly, something needed to change. The course, which I ultimately began to follow in earnest, had the audacity to suggest I was responsible for the train wreck of a life. It implied that if I would simply let go of all my mad fixations, my he done me wrong blockages, and all the other clutter I'd picked up about the way the world works, I could actually be happy. It suggested that the only reason I wasn't experiencing big-ass love and swimming in perpetual abundance was because my consciousness was on red alert. My thoughts view the world as my sworn enemy. In short, it challenged the very foundation of my life. I didn't let go without a fight. My conversations with the voice went something like this. But what about all my problems? I must analyze and fix them. Let go, the voice seemed to suggest. But what about good and evil, right and wrong? Resign now as your own teacher, the voice clearly advised. But slowly, inch by inch, I gave up the reins to my beliefs and old mental constructs. It began to occur to me that if I had the power to create an ongoing disaster, I might also have the power to create a life I could enjoy. The Course pulls no punches, going so far as to guarantee that perfect peace and perfect joy are my inheritance. All I have to do is give up my belief in deprivation and lack. But that's so hard, I whined. It's not hard. The voice was insistent. It's your natural state. It's just very different than the way most people think. I also learned from the Course that the tall blonde chick in the mirror isn't really me. The depressed pregnant woman driving the blue Toyota cross country was nothing but a false identity I'd been taught to assume by a world that worships separation and limitations. By focusing on that little self, I completely missed my connection to this other thing, this bigger thing that many call God. I had completely imprisoned myself by zeroing in on this rickety body that was never, no matter how many face creams I used, no matter how many downward-facing dogs I did, no matter how many Wayne Dyer books I read, was going to be good enough. And that's what the Course is about, taking the wrecking ball to mental constructs that have imprisoned us for far too long. And that was an excerpt from the prologue, the introduction to The Course in Miracles Experiment by Pam Grout. So I love this book, so much so that we had a book discussion group in which we focused on it for several weeks, a couple of months ago, and realized pretty early on that this book written by Pam Grout, which is an interpretation of the workbook section of the main Course in Miracles text was far too dense in its small size to make it through, because the book follows the workbook again of the main text, which is an exercise, a lesson for every day. So we love this idea of revisiting this group, because the idea behind this group is that it is not a book discussion group. It is a Course in Miracles exercise lesson implementation group. So we agree as a group, which met for the first time this past Thursday, that we have the book and we are going to do the exercise, do the lesson for each day of the year for as long as we are in this group together. So on Thursday, it was the 6th of January. If you had had the book prior to that, you had read the lessons, and we were prepared to talk about the lessons on Thursday. And the reason I loved this group was because we weren't just working with the Course in Miracles content, which we haven't really focused on ourselves as a church intensely in the past. But we were working with daily lessons, something for each day of the year, something to keep us in the zone, focused on some growth each day of the year. And because the participants agreed to do each lesson each day, there was an accountability that we were going to hold ourselves to when we returned each week. And we'll be doing this at least for the next 3 months. So we return each week and then have the opportunity to discuss a standout lesson from the week prior. So maybe one of them worked really, really well for us and we could see how it was working in our lives immediately. Or maybe one was a challenge that we just couldn't seem to wrap our minds or our actions around. So we loved Pam Grout's approach because you just heard me read her introduction. It's irreverent, especially about and I didn't read a lot of it, about the density of the text, of the main text. But it's also extremely respectful. I mean, she claims very, very confidently that she aligned with this teaching and that she uses this teaching in a very real way. But we could all relate to some of the misgivings that we heard her reveal. You know, gosh, what about good and evil? What about this? But it's going to be hard, right? We've all felt this. We've all felt this from any of the books we might have read in the beginning of our journeys. We've gone through bad times, and surely we've all been sick and tired of being sick and tired. And yes, we found our metaphysics, and we did read our Wayne Dyer, and we listened to our Oprah Super Soul Sundays. And yes, it's empowering to read slowly, inch by inch. She says, I gave up the reins to my beliefs and old mental constructs. And she concludes by saying that's what the Course is about, taking the wrecking ball to the mental constructs that have imprisoned us for too long. So this wrecking ball to old mental constructs, this prison that they might have kept us in for so long, this is not unlike other language that we've heard or used in our classes, in our homilies, that language about deprogramming ourselves from those socialized narratives we have come to believe about ourselves or were raised with, or actually encouraged to embrace, right? And, you know, I'm all for a lesson and learning how to mix it up, especially if I've got accountability where I actually have to do it and talk about doing it. So I was like, bring it on. Give me my daily deprogramming directive, my assignment that takes me out of my comfort zone. And I was curious, am I going to assert or affirm myself to someone who may have bullied me? Am I going to try one thing that scares me every day? Am I going to live as someone else and develop empathy? Am I going to discover something about my shockingly judgmental personal biases that will catapult me to a new level of empathy? Bring on these lessons. So I'm going to read to you the lessons for the first 9 days. Each lesson that I'm going to read was accompanied with its own explanation chapter, its own discussion chapter, very short. And when I read the lessons, I was like, what's the assignment exactly? So bear with me. 9 lessons. Lesson 1, nothing I see means anything. Lesson 2, I have given everything I see all the meaning that it has for me. Lesson 3, I do not understand anything I see in this room, out the window. Lesson 4, my thoughts do not mean anything. Lesson 5, I am never upset for the reasons I think. Lesson 6, I'm upset because I see something that is not there. Lesson 7, I see only the past. Lesson 8, my mind is preoccupied with past thoughts. Lesson 9, bringing us up to today, I see nothing as it is now. Those aren't lessons. They're statements. They're statements that seem, at least in the beginning to me, smugly cryptic, don't they? And some of them really, really irked me. Nothing I see means anything. I've given everything all the meaning it has for me. I don't understand anything I see. My thoughts don't mean anything. Doesn't she know who I am? And what the heck is the assignment anyway? So I explored the chapters, and once I stopped my panic and frustration, the assignment kind of revealed itself. Pay attention to what you see and realize that it in of itself has no inherent meaning. Pay attention to the meaning that I have given all that I see and encounter. Pay attention to what is appearing in my life and realize that I don't understand anything. Oh my God. The assignment is to pause and be aware, be mindful of what I am thinking, what I am seeing and feeling in the moment. That's all it is. It's not a grand gesture. Every one of these 9 lessons thus far, and I should have realized they were lessons, not assignments. These lessons are encouraging us to be aware of what we are experiencing in the moment. And so, since most of us grew up in the ego-driven universe where we develop habits and shortcuts to avoid thinking of a bigger universe than what is in our physical vision, or taking us away from what feels familiar and comfortable, we grow to believe that things in our life have inherent meaning. We grow to believe this, or we are taught to believe in the meaning of behavior, in the meaning of experience. And then we attach ourselves to what that meaning is, and we cling to it. And that prevents us from thinking in any expansive way beyond that meaning that we have assigned to them. And not only that, when something comes along to challenge what that meaning was that we assigned to it, we get defensive. We get defensive when we are made aware of things that do not align with the meaning or the way that we are looking at something, the way that we have always thought that it had meant. because we gave it that meaning. And I realized that this is pretty clever because just realizing, taking the moment to realize that in fact we have, as a society, as humanity, developed these systems of limiting, imprisoning attachments to the world around us. Just realizing that that's what the root of these things are, that's the beginning of this wrecking ball to the life that I've known, the one that's going to clear the way for this new way of being, for this freedom of being. The very act of stopping where we are and checking in with what we are thinking and feeling begins to draw our power back. Because we're not trained to do that. We are trained to operate on autopilot. We're trained to operate on impulse. We're trained to operate on what is next and available and feels good right away. But if we just take moments in our day, we begin to draw our power back, because then we get to choose. Do I move forward with whatever's going on, or do I choose to step back? We can begin to choose to change things that we don't want to be feeling, that we didn't even know we were feeling because we were on autopilot. So it's kind of meta, what am I thinking right now? Well, I'm thinking about what triggered this thinking, right? And that thought might have come from inside me, and how might I shift it or release it if I don't want to be thinking about it? I'm thinking about this thought. But really, I'm just being mindful of my mind. How do I accept some of these lessons, though? My thoughts don't mean anything. Okay, I can feel the resistance. At the same time, cue the thinking about my thoughts. I'm not really upset about the reason that I think I'm upset. What? You don't know me, A Course in Miracles. How do you know what I am upset about? But cue the reflection. Gee, I'm not upset about the weather or the bus being late or my creepy coworker. Then what is it? Wow, it might be me. So I'm beginning to get it now. My issues of pain and angst and separation come from a system that has fed me lies about what is meaningful and what is acceptable about me in the world that I'm living in. And if I align with these lies by embracing only what I have internalized as acceptable, I temporarily soothe that angst. But that angst only festers as I learn to deny or ignore anything about me that the world has deemed unacceptable. I cease to live a fully free and integrated life with myself. I can't feel aligned by simply affirming in a mirror until I'm blue in the face. This work is about committing to me, not to the Course in Miracles, not even to my group. It's committing to me to be relentless in checking in and embracing my thoughts and feelings, whatever they are. Even if I discover thoughts that I don't like or frighten me, or someone told me long ago that they were unacceptable for me. I must love all of me, not just what our society has chosen what is acceptable to love, because all of me, all of you, all of everything is miraculous. I am miraculous. You are miraculous. I am good. I am bad. I am ugly. I am beautiful. I am whole. We have the line in our Declaration of Principles, which I just stated moments ago. We affirm the personal responsibility of each individual to seek the truth in accordance with their consciousness, and that living in harmony with that truth defines true spirituality. And more importantly, we choose our happiness or unhappiness. So I've always thought, well, yeah, we choose our happiness or our unhappiness. First, I learned it wasn't mutually exclusive. First, I learned, oh yeah, we do choose both. But even when I realized that we do choose both, I thought, well, if I'm unhappy, that's my choice, right? But when I look at it in this context, it's not about the happiness that we are affirming. It is about the choice. We choose our happiness and we choose our unhappiness. How great is that? We do it every day. It's the choice. It's the choice that we have that allows us to rise above, because then we choose who we want to be in those moments. Now, these reflections go against everything that we've learned about the truth of who we are. As humans, we're hammered with the denial and the resistance to the truth that we are miraculous perfection. We are all one. Life is a miracle. We've built up ancestral systems of lies that have clung to illusions that separate us from this truth and from each other. And so I must be, in this journey, willing to accept that nothing I have ever learned, nothing that I've ever known about this system is what I thought it was. How do we break free? How do we break free? It's a house of cards, right? If we're built on systems that have kept us separate, that have only allowed us to express what we have been deemed in the moment as acceptable, where do we go from that? But I see that the key is curiosity. I think curiosity is what allows us to move through the fear. Of course, it's a scary prospect to begin this journey, to be on this journey, knowing that there is a quicksand of empty meanings that we have built generations on. But if we turn our mindset as we commit relentlessly to pursue the truth, we can be curious. Instead of berating ourselves for not realizing that we were on quicksand, let's be curious as to why we had blind spots and what we might do to minimize them in the future. Let's be curious about why something or someone hurt us, or disturbs us, frightens, or unsettles us, or inspires us, motivates us, and energizes us. And let's be curious about what we might do as we gain this unlearning in our community, what we might do to release other people's own meanings and attachments of experiences that don't serve them, that don't serve us, because we make our own. Let's allow for our curiosity that launched our spiritual quest. Let's allow that curiosity to unite us as a community so that we can together discover where we've come from with curiosity and consciously plan and take responsibility for becoming who we want to be. That sounds pretty exciting. It's all about the choice. Let's choose curiosity. And of course, our Course in Miracles experiment discussion group on Thursday evenings. Maybe we'll see you there next week. And thank you.